It has to be a thing the state would be aware that it's exculpatory before it can be destroyed. And then the destruction, it certainly is not ideal. I will grant you that. But the vehicle was stored pursuant to the county policy. And generally when you follow county policy or police policy, that's not the same thing as intentional destruction.
Okay, what y'all hearing right now is the Christopher Gunsby's pre-trial hearing of the evidence, some of the evidence that was thrown out against Unbias. That's what you're hearing right here. That's what this argument is about. And the state is arguing that it be resubmitted back into the trial. Okay, so let me update y'all on what's going on so that y'all won't be confused about what's been going on. Okay, so let me get y'all caught up right quick. So y'all know recently when this this paperwork just came out recently of Unbias having a search warrant from the prosecutor's office in state to retrieve DNA from his mouth. This right here. Let me go to this paperwork. Let me show y'all this. So this is the search warrant. This is the search warrant that was signed on November 13th last month to go inside of Chris's mother's house, 6284, to go inside his mother's house to get DNA samples from him. Now, a lot of people didn't understand why was this so and what does this mean, seeing that he already have his DNA inside of the system. Why would they need to retrieve more DNA from him when his DNA is already in the system? So I want to touch on that to show y'all what's happening so y'all can see they're about to prosecute this man. This man is out of here. When they just signed off on this warrant right here to go get DNA from his mouth, let me show y'all why. And it goes back to this, what I just opened up showing y'all. Now, let me show y'all this. It goes back to this. It goes back to the pre-trial hearing. Now, let me show y'all what happened. The lead detective in this rape case was a black woman. It was a black woman. And where she made the mistake at was going to T-Mobile when they found, okay, so let me put y'all up. So when Shannon got raped in 2015, so the girl Shannon got raped in 2015. When she got raped by him in 2015, she was taken to the hospital immediately after the rape. A rape kit was performed on her. His DNA was taken from her, from the rape kit. They ran it through the system and no matches came up because he hadn't been through the system. So that DNA is just sitting up. It's 2 years later when Kiara get raped. Then the DNA kit is done on her. Same thing. But he hadn't been arrested yet. What happened was he took her property. Because remember, she called for an Uber ride. She called her friend first to get a ride. Her friend wasn't able to give her a ride. And her friend was like, you can call this Uber service and they give rides. She got the number from her friend. Then she got the number from her friend and she called Chris Unbias rape Uber service. She called him for a ride. He come gets her, see she little and all alone, and he take advantage of her and rape her. Then she immediately gets taken to the hospital after jumping out of the moving vehicle car. Witnesses see this, come run to her aid, take her to the hospital. They do a rape kit on her. Then it comes back a match from the same woman that was raped in 2015. However, there is no face and identity to this person because he ain't been through the system yet, even though this is the same match from the dude who raped the woman in 2015. Then the very next day, a third woman is raped. Same rape. Remember, the rape units come out. Every time a crime is committed, based upon what that crime is, that unit come out. For instance, if a killing happened, if somebody get murdered, guess who coming out? The homicide unit, because they the ones who specialize in homicides. If the police call and a burglary has happened, what's happening? The burglary unit is coming out who specialize in burglaries. A domestic violent crime happened. What happened? The domestic unit is coming out who specialize in. See, so whatever the crime is, that's what unit is coming out who specialize in that particular area. So when Kiera was raped Friday, the rape unit came out. Then when another woman was raped Saturday, that same rape unit came out. When the rape unit heard of the girl who was raped Saturday, and she gave the same details of the woman that was raped Friday, they like, hold on. That's the same guy who raped the girl yesterday. We're dealing with a serial rapist here. He just raped 2 girls less than 24 hours. So they go back to Kiera to get more information like, look, this guy raped somebody yesterday too. We need to ask you some more questions. Now, you don't have a number on him or nothing? She like, no, he took my property. He took my property. He got my phone. He got my purse. He got all my valuables. My friend gave me the number. So what they did was like, take me to your friend's house. So the detectives took Kiera, who was raped on Friday, to her friend's house who gave her the number. They get the number from the friend who had his number. They run the number through their system to see what company owns the number. It came back, this number is owned by T-Mobile. Then the detective went to T-Mobile to get a trace and hit a ping on this number and asked them to go back 48 hours because these girls just got raped back to back. So they wanted to make sure that number that belonged to that phone, that belonged to him, was in the vicinity of where these women was raped on these 2 days, Friday and Saturday. And they found out he was there where both these women was raped. So then what they did was told T-Mobile, we dealing with a serial rapist here. And T-Mobile took that and gave them what they was asking for. That allegedly was not allegedly, that part was against the law. And because that part was against the law, what ends up happening is they go to get a search warrant from the judge. The judge give them the search warrant to go get him since they knew now where he was located. When they go get him, they hit his house and raid him. They find the rape victim's property. Then they got him in custody and they swab his mouth. When they swab his mouth and run it through the system, bingo, it matches the rape victims from 2015 into 2017 of the women who was raped. Like, this is the guy we've been looking for. He raped that woman in 2015 because you can't beat DNA. You can't beat DNA. So he rapes the women. He rapes the woman. He rapes the woman, and when he rapes her, they take his DNA, they run it through the system, it comes back a hit. When it comes back to hit, they like, we've been looking for him. This is the guy we've been looking for. The woman who was raped in 2015, he matches her too. You can't beat DNA. You the only one with your own DNA. Nobody else have your DNA that places you at the scene of the crime of all these rape victims of these 3 women. So it came back positive hits. Like, uh-oh, we got him. This him. He raped the girl back then. He raped the girl yesterday. He raped the other girl. We got him. This is him. We got our man. Now, here's where the problem came in. When Chris's lawyers began to argue, not that our client isn't guilty, the nature by which he was arrested was illegal, because y'all was supposed to got a search warrant to go talk to T-Mobile. And that's where the detective went wrong, the black woman. She didn't go get the search warrant to go talk to T-Mobile before getting all the information from T-Mobile to then go get a warrant to go get him. So they like, hold on, they didn't get us fair. It ain't that he didn't rape her. It ain't that everything said about him isn't true, because obvious it is. But according to the law, they didn't do it the legal right way. They didn't get a warrant to go talk to T-Mobile like you're supposed to do, and it violated his constitutional right. Let me play y'all something. Watch this.
Which is the bad faith part of this analysis. And the fact that you identified, first of all, they identified 4 or 5 different things that were, quote, exculpatory and never described the nature of it. Had they taken any steps to identify the quality of the information, or the quality of exculpatory information, or even asked to see the vehicle, all they did was ask to hold it.
Okay, what you're listening to is the state. This is the state arguing about the evidence and some of the evidence that was thrown out. Now they're talking about the truck by which these women was raped in, that the truck was held in, held by the state as evidence that not only the state could use, but his defense, that Chris defense could use. What Chris defense them did was try to hold the vehicle in care of the state for as long as they could, hoping that something happened to the vehicle so that they could have an argument to try to say if something happened, like, oh, we didn't get to do our investigation on the vehicle. So this is what he arguing, because come to find out, the rape vehicle had been vandalized after it was sitting up for almost 2 years without Chris and them defense team ever doing something. See, this is a tactic and a strategy that they do, because remember, a lot of these lawyers look for technicalities, and then they use their reasoning in these tactics to try to get mistrials as a result of careless taking care of certain evidence. Like in this situation right here, they got his truck where he raped the women. The state immediately do they investigation on the truck because they need all the evidence to indict and to do things like, so they do that. So they get everything they need. Now, Chris' lawyer was supposed to do the same thing while the car is in impounded. But they don't do it. They wait 2 years to after they find out the car is vandalized, and they're like, oh, they messed up the evidence. We didn't get to do our investigation on the truck because it's been vandalized and tampered with, and now that messed things up for us. See what's happening here? These are all tactics strategized, and I believe purposely done. I believe he purposely had this done. I believe Unbias purposely may have paid somebody, because here's the thing. The state had a deal with Impound that when they impounding cars and things like that, because they didn't have no more place. They had a contract with the company that impound cars. So they had his car in the impound due to another contract. And I believe he may have hired somebody to specifically pick out that truck in the impound to vandalize it, because they found trash inside of the truck. Like somebody purposely threw trash around the truck to basically mess up evidence type stuff. Think about that. Who does that? Who breaks into an impound, picks out the rape truck out of all the trucks? It ain't even a popping truck. It's just a regular SUV. Who picks it out, break the windows in it, and pour trash all over it? Come on, man. He paid to get that done. Or his lawyer, they paid to get that done. Looking for any way they can to get out of this. But let me show you what the state did to show how that they smarter. Even though they probably couldn't prove he had something to do with it, because 9 times 10, he probably paid somebody. But that right there, come on, man, that's no coincidence. That's no coincidence. Now, with that being said, this is what he's arguing. They waited 2 years to then try to get evidence out when they were supposed to have been done this. Now, look what he argued. Look what he says.
Then we'd be in a different situation. There has to be some element of obligation on the defendant to exercise his due process rights in a timely manner. Otherwise, he's sitting on his rights, waiting for some sort of problem to occur, and then to complain about his failure to act in a prompt and timely fashion.
Exactly. That's what he just argued. There has to be some type of responsibility on their behalf that when this car was impounded, they were supposed to took actions and did what they supposed to do. But yet they trying to sit on their rights. Yeah, we got a right to this, so let's just sit on it as long as we could, hoping that something might happen that we might could. So let's just keep putting in these motions, stalling while it's sitting up till we can think of something. That's how come I believe that they sabotaged this truck. Waiting for something to happen, like he just argued. Waiting for something to happen so that they can have an argument. Because it don't take 2 years for you to actually get your evidence out of this truck, just like the state did when they first got the truck. Stop it. Watch this.
Thank you.
May I ask one thing?
Yes.
If this was such an emergency, also the state limited its evidence collection to the front seat. If the state thought this was a serial rapist, why was the evidence collection limited to just the front seat?
See, just like what I'm saying, this what we be meaning. What the battle rap community is in denial of, that they just don't want to accept. That they just cannot get in their head, that he is literally a serial rapist. I don't care how innocent he make himself look on camera. I don't care how smart you think he is. I don't care how much you like a recap or stock drop or an untold truth, because you just can't believe he's capable of doing such a thing. He is labeled a serial rapist. He have a problem. He have a mental twisted problem that he can't help himself. Even though he's already got 4 different women. Think about this. This is what we mean by it. He have 4 different women that don't know each other, all pointing him out to raping them. Then you have 4 more women who also said that he inappropriately touched them, did something against them too, who don't have a complaint in charge on him legally. We got that in battle rap. We got the Mexican woman at the RBE event. We got Bonnie Godiva coming out speaking against what he did to her. We have the other woman at the other event who said he squeezed her titty and she got into it with him in the crowd. Like, bro, what are you doing? He can't help himself. He really have a mental issue and a serious problem. He is literally a serial rapist. People just don't want to admit it. Accept it, angry fan. Accept it, y'all. He is a serial rapist, okay? Piper Boy, my guy. He is a serial rapist, okay? Angry fan, my guy. He is a serial rapist. Jay Black, my guy. He is a serial rapist. ARP, my guy. He is a serial rapist. Hip hop is real. He is a serial rapist. 15 minutes of fame. He is a serial rapist. Smack URL. He is a serial rapist. Black Ice Cartel. He is a serial rapist. King of the Dot. He is a serial rapist. Open y'all eyes. Open y'all eyes. Get out of the blogging mentality. This is real life right here. This is his pre-trial hearing. Listen to what the judge says.
Collection of the front seat. If the state thought this was a serial rapist, why was the evidence collection limited to just the front seat?
Well, because the state only knew about 2 cases. They knew about 2 alleged victims, Miss Simeon and Miss Hill, each of whom alleged that the assault happened in the front seat. So the focus was on the front seat in terms of collecting trace evidence. They did examine the entire vehicle.
Notice what the state's attorney said. At the time, the state only knew about 2 victims. We only knew about 2 victims. The woman who was raped on Friday, the woman who was raped on Saturday, Karen Hill and Kiera Simeon. We only knew about them 2 at the time. We didn't know about the other women in 2015. We didn't know about them at the time because we were going on the call that Friday and that Saturday of 2 women that were raped and gave the same description of the same person who came out to be Christopher Gunsby, aka Chris Unbias. We didn't know about the other rape victims yet until we ran his DNA through the system. Oh yeah, he out of there. They finna burn him up. And I'm finna prove, look, I ain't even get to that part yet to show y'all. Watch this though.
Alleged that the assault happened in the front seat. So the focus was on the front seat in terms of collecting trace evidence. They only knew about 2 cases. And then to complain about his failure to act in a prompt and timely fashion.
Right. Thank you.
Can I ask one thing?
Yes.
If this was such an emergency also, the state limited its evidence collection to the front seat. If the state thought this was a serial rapist, why was the evidence collection limited to just the front seat?
Well, because the state only knew about 2 cases. They knew about 2 alleged victims, Miss Simeon and Miss Hill, each of whom alleged that the assault happened in the front seat. So the focus was on the front seat in terms of collecting trace evidence. They did examine the entire vehicle, but didn't take lifts or prints or anything in the back. They had no reason to do so because they had no evidence to suggest there'd ever been a crime in the back of that large SUV.
Okay. Now, this what leads me to what I'm doing this blog about. So this is the pre-trial hearing before the trial to see what evidence is going to be allowed in the trial because some of the evidence was kicked out when they raided Chris's house. When they raided Chris's house and they got the victim's property, proving that he was there with them, in his DNA, in his phone, putting him at the scene of the crimes of these rape victims, when they argued that his rights was violated as a result of not getting the warrant first to talk to T-Mobile, that evidence was thrown out. They didn't throw out the case. They threw out the evidence. For the most part, they didn't really need the evidence when you have the victims. And this is what led to what we seeing happening now. So think about it. Remember, when they arrested him that day, when they raided his house and he was gone for those 2 years, when they did that, they took his DNA out of his mouth. Remember, the lawyers argued his rights was violated. That DNA was thrown out that they got from his house when they raided. Some of the victim property, that was thrown out, that it can't be used in trial. So the state gave his lawyers what they wanted. But then the state doubled back on him. And that's when they hit him with this warrant. Like, no, you ain't get away with nothing. We'll throw out the DNA. So he thought he had a victory. Oh, I got a victory. They threw out my DNA, so they can't use it against me to say that I was with these women. They threw out my DNA. Yay, I got a victory. Not so fast. We're going to do a new DNA. That's what this warrant was. Now we're going to do a new DNA legally, the right way. You can't put in a motion about it. You can't complain about it. And neither do we throw out these victims' cases. That's why they never dropped none of his charges. That's why he still got those 6 rape counts on him. They never dropped none of the charges. They got rid of some type of evidence that can't be used against them, but they never dropped the charges, and the victims still remain front and center, ready to go to trial to actually testify against him. So what do the state do to the rapists? They get fresh DNA because they can't use the old DNA no more because it was thrown out. That's what you just saw happen on November the 13th right here. They issue a warrant for new DNA to legally go in the system without any corruption. Look what it says. Oral. Look what it says down here. Oral, down here at the bottom, oral testimony given under oath, received and recorded. They want his mouth orally. This will be an oral testimony. See, his DNA gonna testify against him. His own DNA is going to testify against him. That same DNA that put him with all the rape victims, they're going to do that again, which they did, and it becomes a testimony against him. He ain't got to talk. His DNA will testify against him, putting him with the rape victims like it once did, that he thought he had a victory when it was kicked out. So they doing an oral testimony right here at the bottom left of the screen, right at the very bottom. Look, y'all, they doing an oral testimony given under oath. It will be received and recorded. It will be received and recorded. They're going to retrieve it from his mouth, document it in the records, and it will be a testimony against him in the upcoming trial. Y'all see that? You see that? That's why they issued this warrant. Because they threw the old one out. In with the new, out with the old. So he don't have a victory. They just made it harder. Now they can't argue against it. Now they just stripped his lawyers of an argument. They just stripped his lawyers of an argument. They can't even argue it no more. They can't even file a motion no more. He done. So that was the purpose of the warrant. They threw out the old DNA on the technicality, but then double back and get new DNA without a technicality. Oh yeah, they ain't playing with you, Mr. Raper, man. They is not playing with you. And people need to be aware of this. No more babysitting this guy. No more babysitting this guy. Y'all have mothers. Y'all have daughters. Y'all have girlfriends and spouses. This man is a real predator. This man was going to kill those women. Remember, both them women, and that's how you know it was God with them women, even though he raped them. Not only to bring him to justice, but notice, both those women jumped out the moving vehicle after he raped them. Think about this. After he raped them, both those women jumped out of the moving vehicle. Question, where was he going to take them women? After you raped them, where you taking them? You finna give them a ride back home? You finna take them out to eat after you raped? Where was he finna take these women after he raped them? Reportedly saying while he raping them, shut up or I'm going to kill you. He stabbed Karen. He stabbed Karen Hill. That's why they got the blood out of the truck. And he paid somebody to vandalize, sabotage the truck so that that blood couldn't be used against him. This what they arguing in the pre-trial. This stuff for real. I know y'all don't want to believe it. Accept it. People ain't who they make themselves out to be in front of these cameras. But regardless to what, the justice of God is moving on the behalf of those victims, and he will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Make no mistake about it, because he can't get out of this one. Notice they double back on him like, okay, throw it out. Throw out the evidence. Get them their motion. Throw it out. Now let's get legal evidence they can't argue against. Go back in his mouth. Here's the warrant for it. Go back in his mouth and get it again. They can't file a motion on that. They can't file a motion on that. It's done. And he finna be going to trial in front of an all-female trial. Think about that. You got a rape case. Your judge is a woman. The district attorney is a woman. The head detective is a woman. All your victims are women. And the majority of the persons that's going to be on your jury, they're going to be women too. Man, you're done. In the era of feminism, man, you're done. But you're guilty of what you did. It ain't like we got a guy who being wrongfully prosecuted or who innocent and being bribed and framed. That's not the case here. And it's not no racial profiling of a black man being mistreated unjustly because all his victims is black. All his victims is black. The head detective is black. So you're done. And that's what happened here, y'all. That's the purpose of the warrant for his mouth. It's fresh evidence because the old evidence was thrown out. The old evidence was thrown out. They double backed on him. You won't throw this one out. You ain't gonna get to throw this one out. How about that? Neither can you sue the state. See, that's another thing y'all don't get, why they threw out that evidence. Okay, look, wrong is wrong, right is right. Okay, they didn't get the warrant for T-Mobile, which means what they found in the house, because remember, they found him in the house too. He was also part of the evidence. They swiped his mouth after they arrested him, ran it through the machine. Oh, this him. So he's part of the evidence when that house was hit that day. So what they do, okay, throw it out. Get them what they want, throw it out. Now double back, because we got all three victims. Double back, go in his mouth, run it through the machine, see if it matched the victims. Yeah, it's going to match just like it matched the last time. He can't change his DNA. Go in his mouth for the oral testimony against him. Run it through the machine. Did it come out positive again? Oh, it did? Okay. Trial set for, you're done. You're done. Like you're supposed to.